Our expedition starts on Monday, October 10th, 2011 at Logan International Airport in Boston. We will be boarding Lufthansa's 8:20 p.m. flight to St. Petersburg with a layover in Munich, Germany, putting us in Russia on Tuesday, October 11th at 3:55 p.m.
Upon arriving at Pulkovo Airport in St. Petersburg, we will grab our bags and take a shuttle bus 13 to the Moskovskaya metro station.
The metro will be our mode of transportation around St. Petersburg because each ride on the metro, no matter the distance, costs 25 rubles, which is equivalent to 89 cents.
That's right. So we are on the metro and we will get off at Sportovyava. This is a 3-minute walk from where we will be staying for the next 6 nights.
At the Rinaldi at Bolshoi Prospect, Leigh and I will be sharing a standard twin room. Included in this room are 2 twin beds, continental breakfast each morning, a city view out the window, a dining area, an in-room safe, a phone, a coffee maker, and a bathroom.
Awesome. The package of the round-trip flights and the hotel room for 6 nights will cost us a total of $2,383.46. Since we get to St. Petersburg in late afternoon on Tuesday, it might be best for us to check out the city and wander around near our hotel to get our bearings.
That sounds great, Leigh. On our second day, I have something planned for us. After catching up on some sleep, we will make our way to the Museum of Political History by way of the metro. This is an interesting place because it itself is a manifestation of the revolution in Russia, as the building was once the mansion for Tsar Nicholas's mistress before he became emperor. However, in 1917, Lenin and the Bolsheviks seized the building and used it as their headquarters and center of their revolutionary activities. In 1957, the building became the Museum of the Revolution, with exhibits that illustrate the political history of Russia right up to present times. Artifacts collected by key players in the Russian Revolution are preserved, such as documents, posters, pamphlets, and banners. At the beginning of the 90s, the museum was named the Museum of Political History, and exhibits were remade to reveal the history of the Soviet Union as well. The spectrum of exhibits ranges from the reign of Catherine the Great past Gorbachev and into modern-day Russia.
This sounds like a great stop, Colleen. We certainly will be able to understand the factors that led up to the revolution and the events of the revolution in Russia.
Yes, we will. I think that this should take us almost all day to work our way through, so it would prove best for us to head back to the hotel room after this long day to rest up for another big day ahead of us. What do you think we should do on our third day?
On the third day of our trip through revolutionary St. Petersburg, we're seeing the Winter Palace, one of the many homes of the Russian Tsars from 1732 to 1917. The scale of the building was constructed to reflect the huge size and power of Imperial Russia. Thus, the palace is 250 meters long by 10 meters high and contains 1,786 doors, 1,945 windows, 1,500 rooms, and 117 staircases.
Those Russian Tsars knew something about modesty.
Sure they did.
But tell me something about the history of the palace.
Gladly. In addition to its colorful architecture, the Winter Palace also has a colorful history. It was the site of many revolutionary acts, such as in 1905 when the Bloody Sunday Massacre took place, and in 1917 when the Bolsheviks stormed the building and Tsar Nicholas II was ousted. The fall of the palace to the revolutionaries became iconic of the Russian Revolution. Following the February Revolution of 1917, the Winter Palace was the seat of the Russian provincial government under Alexander Kerensky. But later that same year, the Red Army and Vladimir Lenin stormed the palace again, and the provincial government was dismissed. This was an important incident in the forming of the Soviet state. On October 30th, 1917, the Winter Palace was declared to be a part of the Hermitage Public Museums by Lenin, and it has been ever since.
Do you think that after we do this, we could possibly stop by Finland Station and check out the monument dedicated to Lenin?
Sure, why not?
It should only take 30 minutes or so. This station is famously known for the arrival of Vladimir Lenin on April 3rd, 1917, sent over by Germany, marking the beginning of the October Revolution. The immense statue of Lenin in the middle of the square blocks the front of the station, commemorates this event.
Why wasn't Lenin in Russia if this was his home country? Was he sent in from Germany?
Back in the July days, Russia was in severe turmoil. In order to avoid arrest after the Tsar's dynasty crushed the rebels, Lenin had to flee Finland, where he was able to develop Leninism, his modified version of Marxism, to fit the needs of Russia at the time.
So, when he returned to Russia, Lenin was able to gain followers and support for his idea of Leninism. It all makes sense now. Perfect! We can take pictures in front of the museum, front of the monument to end our day.
After that, we will walk back to the closest metro station and take it back to Sportivna Station, where we can walk back to the hotel and sleep for our next big day.
For day 4 in St. Petersburg, I have planned a trip down to the memorial flat of Alexander Blok. Alexander Alexandrovich Blok was a major poet of the Russian symbolism style. This was a movement that emphasized the irrational and mystical poetry of Vladimir Solovov and the novels of Dostoevsky, among other works. Towards the end of his life, his poetry took on political tones. In these poems, he primarily described the conflict between ideal beauty and the ugly reality of industrialization. Consequently, he had vaguely apocalyptic notions, and thus accepted the Russian Revolution as the final solution. This can be seen in his poem The 12, which likens 12 Bolshevik soldiers as they trek through revolutionary Petrograd during a storm to the 12 Apostles of Christ. The museum is a restored version of the actual apartment he lived in from 1912 to 1921 and contains many of the poet's possessions and artifacts. After that, we can check out a local restaurant for dinner and head back to the hotel for the night.
I'm excited to do that. On our 5th day, I thought that it would be fitting to visit the Lenin Memorial Museum. In the final months of 1917, Lenin and his wife moved into the Smonley Institute, a former girls' school. Following the success of the October Revolution, this building became the headquarters for the first Soviet government. Inside, we can take a tour of both the Lenin Museum and parts of the preserved Smonley Institute wings. In modern times, this building now houses the city government as well as the Lenin Memorial Museum.
I think that looks pretty interesting, Colleen. Woohoo! I bet there's some cool artifacts of the revolution, as well as some interesting historical facts about Lenin and his wife, Nadezhda Krupskaya.
You sure bet there are. For instance, did you know that Lenin used her apartment as a safe house for some communists in 1917 while they were in hiding from the government?
No, but that's really cool.
I agree. After checking out the exhibits in the museum, we will head back to our hotel and rest for the night. What do you have planned for day 6?
I thought we could have her head over to the Kirov Museum, which was the apartment of Communist Party leader Sergei Kirov until his assassination in 1934. As we know, at the time of his death, Stalin had taken over control of the Soviet Union. In fact, Kirov was one of Stalin's henchmen, and it's likely that Stalin himself ordered the attack on Kirov.
That's terrible, but from what we know about Stalin, not very shocking.
True. Stalin was a ruthless and hyper-paranoid dictator who ruled the Soviet Union for about 30 years. And as you know, he managed to weasel his way into Lenin's former position by ruthlessly crushing his enemies and promoting propaganda to support his objectives. Kirov's death was important because Stalin used it as propaganda for the purpose of revamping his political purges and campaigns against his perceived enemies.
What's the museum like inside, Leigh?
Well, not really a lot happened in the Kirov Museum while he was alive. Honestly, the only important thing to happen there was the fact that Kirov was shot. But the apartment does give us some pretty good insight into what life was like for a high-ranking Soviet leader in the 1930s. As an anthropological study, the home is fascinating. There are bearskin rugs under the desks and stuffed birds on the bookcases. Also, there are multiple pictures of Stalin set up around the house, which suggests Stalin's preeminence in the lives of people around the Soviet Union. Furthermore, there are photos that document Kirov's life and military stints, but the pictures at the forefront are socialist realist.
What is that?
Socialist realism is a style of realistic art that was developed by the Soviets for the purpose of furthering and depicting the aims of socialism and communism. Therefore, in keeping with this style, the most important pictures in the Kirov Museum are the ones of Kirov taking care of children and conversing with common workers.
Sounds like a great stop.
I think so, but what are we going to do on our 7th day?
To fit in the Museum of the History of the Russian Political Police. This museum features a lot of archives and documentary evidence and photos of the famous 20th century secret agents and the secret police in Nicholas's 3rd Department through the Cheka of 1918 and up to the KGB of the Cold War era. Their institutions of secret police played a crucial role in the added corruption and intensity of the Russian Revolution.
This is great for our last stop of the trip. We will have to head back to the hotel that night and pack up all our stuff. I'm going to be really sad when we have to leave.
Me too. We will wake up bright and early on the 18th to get to the Pulkovo airport for our 5:50 a.m. flight. We have a layover in Munich again, and we can grab lunch there. We'll be back in Boston by 6:25 that same afternoon.
Awesome! I'm really pumped for our trip.
T-minus 151 hours and 24 minutes.
Yeah! Stop. Where's the stop?